What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel, where today we have a nice little double feature of Diablo clones from both sides of the Warhammer universe. On the fantasy side of things, we have Chaosbane, and of course, on the 40k side of things, we have Inquisitor Martyr. Starting things off with Chaosbane, if memory serves correctly, I would say that this has to be my first real experience with the fantasy universe. I've played a little bit of Warhammer Total War off and on, and I'm very much looking forward to diving into that more further on down the line. But right now, I would say that this has to be the first time that I've truly sat down to kind of dive into this world and see what it's all about. Story-wise, I would say that it feels pretty standard fare, pretty much what you would probably expect from a medieval fantasy type plot, right? The setup for this game is that it takes place at a point in the timeline where the Empire is exceptionally divided. It's very fractured. Its power is waning. So naturally, that is the opportune time for the bad guys to pop in to take advantage of it, starting a full-scale chaos invasion. And this prompts, all these different races to kind of come together, to band together, to thwart, to ward off this evil. That is the setup for the game. The plot itself focuses on you playing as one of these characters that was involved in the initial war, trying to stop the forces of chaos as they're looking for a new leader and working to rebuild themselves an army and regather their strength to essentially do the same thing all over again. Gameplay-wise, I would say that it feels very basic and stripped down in a lot of ways, which to me is both a blessing and a curse. I say a blessing because I ended up feeling very similarly to the way that I did with Space Marine. This may be a good place, a good entrance point for this universe to learn how it works, and or if you've never played a Diablo-esque dungeon crawler before, it's a good place to learn the basics, because that's all there is. The bad part of that is, of course, that there doesn't really feel to be a whole lot of substance here. I mean, I did play the game on easy, yes, but I was max level in or around the time that I beat Chapter 2 of the campaign, and I think there's roughly 5 in total. And by the time that I had completed the game, done everything that I wanted to do, and set the controller down, I was in the ballpark of Paragon, or whatever you want to call it, level 60 or thereabouts. I will say that this is a game that feels like it has quite a lot of replayability to it. Not necessarily right after you beat it, right? This isn't a game where I think you're going to want to, run through it with one character and immediately kick it up again. But if I was to uninstall this, leave it on the shelf for a while, and I just needed something to play mindlessly, run through with a different character and everything like that, I could see it being uh, worth a replay and worth that kind of time. Moving on to 40K Inquisitor Martyr, though, uh, it's more of the same, I would say, just more hardcore and a little bit more complex. Uh, Story wise, couldn't really tell you much about it. I'm not really sure how to break down, um, the minute details of everything that's happening in the plot. But I will say is that it feels quite immense. There's a lot going on, that kind of pulls in all of these different factions and uh, things like that of enemy groups to the Empire. Um, and it's very, very good. Um, Gameplay wise, where Chaosbane felt very basic and you know stripped down, like I said, this one feels like it throws everything plus the kitchen sink at you. It feels very much like you would expect a Blizzard game to to feel like if you had played this kind of thing before. I mean, right when you log in and you get to your hub world, your ship or whatever, and you kind of decide what you want to do, it hits you with everything. Um, Daily challenges, weekly challenges, timed stuff, um, just everything you can imagine to try to get you to grind out XP and to grow in levels is there. Um, I felt at the beginning like it was very overwhelming because it's just like there's no real easing into it. It's just like you've got so many options, and it feels like there's so much to this game and so much to do, which is great, um, especially compared to Chaosbane. But then you start to realize that everything you do in this game, whether it be the main campaign, whether it be the side campaigns, whether it be the operation mode or just general grindy sort of little piddly missions. It's all based around the same thing. It's all the same gameplay loop. And on one hand, at first, I was like, you know what, it's fine, because at the end of the day, how much gameplay variety can we really get out of a Diablo esque dungeon crawler like this? But on the other hand, you know, the more you play it, and the more time you spend, the more the fatigue is going to set in, and you will definitely lose the enthusiasm for the game, very much like I did. No matter how hard I tried, I just hit that wall where I was like, my God, I want to play something else. And there was just no way that I was going to be able to convince myself to keep pushing forward to max level and somehow grind out an extra 40 levels in the post game. It just wasn't going to happen. Something to, at the very least, be aware of. I don't necessarily know if this is a negative or not. I will leave it up to you to decide. But the game does require a constant internet connection, and it requires you to make a account with the developer, which I believe is Nacon or something like that. And I found this out the hard way. Basically, what happened was I got logged in, got my account set up and everything like that, made my character, started the game. Accidentally skipped the opening cutscene, and I was like, oh crap, that sucks, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss any lore. I don't want to miss anything that explains what we're doing here and what's going on. So I was like, okay, I'll just cut back to the dashboard and reload the game, delete my character, and start the process over, and it won't be a problem. And that's where I realized that this is a situation where once you create a character, it is forever tied to the server that you are using. So if you delete that character, its name and everything about it basically becomes dead, never to be used again. Now, I don't know if there's an easy way to like switch your server or if there's an easy workaround for that. But just to be able to progress and recover from my mistake, it did unfortunately force uh, my Inquisitor, who was originally named Alice Little, to be renamed Alice P for Presence Little, if you will. So might be an issue for some. I don't know. A major issue might be a minor issue for some. I don't really think, once I got going, it really had no bearing on what I was doing or my ability to complete the game. But it's just something to be aware of so you don't make the same mistake. And I will post, just for fun, my character in the community tab, just so you can see kind of what she looked like and the level that I got to before I ended up quitting and moving on to something else. But I think that's going to wrap this video up, guys. So as always, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.